I think we're live. Hello,
Hello.
welcome. Welcome to the Post and Courier Beyond the Headlines. I'm Maura Hogan, arts critic at the Post and Courier, and I will be in conversation today with Kalyn Oyer, arts and entertainment reporter for the Post and Courier. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me remind you that this is going to be recorded. That will be available after the event. Also, there'll be a little bit of a Q&A at the end too. So if you want to participate in that, just hit the right button down there. Let me tell you a little bit about how we're going to do this. This is a conversation. I'll be tackling Spoleto Festival USA, and Kalyn will talk about Piccolo for you, some of the highlights and background. And on that note, I think I will talk first about maybe a little bit, we'll both talk about our roles at the paper.
Yeah.
I'm arts critic, and so that means that I regularly write reviews of live performances as well as visual arts exhibitions. I also have a Sunday column, and that talks about the state of the arts. I really often focus on the nexus of arts and community in South Carolina. And I also write beat reporting, just things that are breaking in the arts scene. And Kalyn, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Kalyn Oyer. I'm the arts and entertainment reporter for the Post and Courier. I've been at the paper for about 5 years now, and I do more of the beat reporting side of things, which means I interview local artists, local musicians, and also touring acts that are coming through town and kind of let you guys know about what's going on, what's happening, and who you should know about.
Great. So together, let me tell you a little bit about, since I'm doing the Spoleto Festival USA, the main 17-day arts infusion that takes place starting Memorial Day weekend every year, except the past two have been a little wonky.
Right.
Going for 17 days after that. I have actually been involved as long as you can be involved with the festival. As a child in 1977, when it was founded, I was actually selected to be in the children's choir for the first opera, which was The Queen of Spades. It was at the Gilliard. So I got to, in a smaller, sleepier Charleston, participate in this world-class opera, and that was really transformative for me. And I continued to be involved with the festival. I would both that and Piccolo. I would see as many performances as I could save babysitting money up for. I wrote for a daily when I was a teenager that used to be distributed. This gentleman, David Farrow, used to create, and have been an ardent fan of both festivals throughout my days. What about you, Kalyn? Can you tell us a little about your background with Piccolo?
Yes. So I actually interned for Piccolo Spoleto. I'm from Charleston originally, I should note that. So I grew up here, and I don't know if I really went to a ton of Piccolo events when I was younger, but in high school, I remember going to a few with my parents. And then in college, I interned with Piccolo Spoleto. And so that means I was one of the people who organized the volunteers at different events around town. I worked like the farmers market that weekend. And so that's kind of how I got to know more about Piccolo Spoleto and the arts here before I even worked at the paper.
Wonderful. And so you have been providing most of the coverage
for Piccolo
for this year's festival and in festivals past.
Yes.
We should probably talk a little bit about that coverage too before we get into it. We're going to have a robust slate of coverage. We'll have a dedicated place on the Post and Courier homepage every day, which we should have fresh content of some form or another up there, whether it's a profile or a little series I call Question and Artists, where I ask some of the participating artists. We'll have some great images. We'll We've recently shared information about the poster reveal, and some other events will soon be reported on as well. And then we're going to have a slew of reviews. We have a whole stable of reviewers spanning different artistic disciplines, who are going to participate in the conversation. And the way we see it is a conversation, that this is the way Spoleto and Piccolo have always been conceived. And it's a different world than when I was that kid in Charleston in 1977, where you just kind of ran into people on the street corners and said, well, what did you see this week? Now, luckily, we've always had the Post and Courier as a hub and a street corner, if you will, to have that kind of exchange. So we're hoping this starts a lot of conversations about what's going on in the world, as seen through the lens of artists. So I guess we should just get going into the festivals.
Let's do it.
Okay, great. So as I mentioned before, Spoleto is particularly excited, Spoleto Festival USA, this year because it's back. There was no festival 2 years ago because of the pandemic. And before that, or the last year, it was a very scaled down, very cautious, the first festival that kind of came back. So it's had staggered seating, it had fewer performances, and almost everything except chamber music was outside. This is different. This year they're going full. They do have COVID protocols in place for that reason. And there's a lot of exciting things happening with this year's festival. First, some of that is happening behind the scenes. They have a new general director in Mina Mark-Hanna that takes the mantle from Nigel Redden, who had been at the festival for almost 4 decades. So he brings his own vision to this festival, which is the 46th. And he has wrangled some programming that was pre-existent, because some of these productions take years to percolate before they actually get to the stage. And then he has also brought in his own. So that's a very exciting aspect of the main festival. Another is that a new chorus is born. Spoleto Festival USA Chorus now will be the resident chorus for the festival moving forward. That is a change from a previous relationship with Westminster Choir. However, this festival will fold in some past Westminster Choir members, so there will be sort of a nice transition. And they will have their own events. They will also be sprinkled through some of the opera productions. So they will really be front and center in this year's festival. One of those productions, which is highly anticipated, is Oyer, which will be at the Setilly Theater. This opera has been twice postponed, so there have been a lot of developments along the way. The Post and Courier has been following it and will continue to follow it. It is exciting for various reasons. One, it has some amazing talent behind it in Michael Abels and Rhiannon Giddens, who has been with the festival. She used to be with the Caroline Chocolate Drops. She was with the festival then. She's performed in concerts at the Gilliard with the festival. And so she is now a large part of this production. And it is directed by Kineza Shaw. So that will feature the chorus, and it tells the story of Omar ibn Said, which has a Charleston connection, in that he was an enslaved Muslim who came to America by way of Charleston and was then in the Carolinas and kept an autobiography. So this is a story that tells his story, that he could write and read, and so he was able to share his deep Muslim faith in this with the express purpose of having others know his true story. And that is a very key component of this year's festival, in that those revisiting of narratives is a big part of many of the productions. Hannah has talked about how this festival really gathers around the notion of migration, whether it is forced or voluntary, and how that global migration has manifested in a cross-cultural world. So we're going to see a lot of these revisiting of narratives. So maybe I should just give you some other highlights of the festival with that in mind.
Yes.
What
should people see?
Yeah, you're
I'm
freezing
sorry,
up
what should the people see this year?
Ah, yes, thank you, Kalyn. Well, let's just go by discipline, and we'll start with opera, since we talked about Omar. There's also at the Gilliard a production of La Boheme. Now, this is going to be very interesting because this actually reverses the traditional narrative of La Boheme, and apparently that means it's going to have a happy ending. So I'm very excited about this. I was fortunate enough to sneak into a rehearsal to see the chorus just do a little bit of staging for it. There's spectacle there. There's a lavish backdrop. I think it's going to be good fun. So there's that. And then there is also a world premiere in Unholy Wars. And that is selections from European opera that have been revisited through an Arab American lens. So that's another way in which we're looking at stories in a different way. Then we move to theater. First up at the Dock Street is The Approach, which is by Irish playwright Mark O'Rowe. I've seen his work at the Public Theater in New York. He often bases his works in Dublin. Another fun fact is that he writes a very popular television series called Normal People. This is with 3 women, while traditionally he has written about criminals and serial killers. I think this is less that, but it may be just as bracing in terms of the betrayals with these women. And it will also be Until the Flood, a one-woman show by Dale Orlander Smith, which explores Ferguson and through vignettes by 8 characters. So then those are some highlights there. Dance. We have Reggie Wilson, Fist and Heel. That's going to be really compelling. I had a great chat with him this past week. He discovered a lot about Black Shaker communities of the 1800s, in particularly a female leader named Mother Rebecca. And so he considers his work kinesthetic anthropology, and these Shaker communities really employed dance. So that's going to be interesting. Another fun fact about this is that the costumes were based on batiks that were from a previous collaboration with a Charleston artist, Ariane King Comer. So he told me that on the phone. So that really brings it back to Charleston, which always makes me happy. New York City Ballet is returning. They were here with ABT last year, and now they're doing Ballet Encore. Malpaso Dance Company, which is Cuban, will be here, so that should be vibrant and contemporary. We have a little circus. It's not Spoleto with a little circus. Machine de Cirque will be at Festival Hall, which was previously called Meminger Hall, that venue. Chamber music is back and better than ever. They'll have a little bit of a scenic surprise that I will not tip too much yet. Music in Time, which is young contemporary music, is full on. Then the choristers will also get, with some of the principal artists, a chance to really shine and lift every voice, which talks about the Black experience. Wells Fargo Jazz is back. One of the highlights of that is Usu Ndour, who is a pop star, very well known from Senegal. So he's going to be doing a more reflective work about his Sufi faith. And so then we have Rhapsodic Overture in Beethoven's Ninth, which employs the chorus again. So it's a full plate, a big finale at Firefly with Shaky Graves, and so there's a lot going on. But I think I've probably taken up all my time, and so Kalyn, tell us a little bit about what's going on at Piccolo.
Sure. So Piccolo Spoleto is kind of I've been calling it the sidekick to Spoleto. It is kind of more of a local take organized by the city of Charleston that really kind of highlights, well, not just local artists, some traveling artists too, but really is there for the community and to be accessible. It's usually free tickets or pretty cheap tickets. I think the most expensive one this year is $30. So you can, take the family out to a lot of these things, a lot of family friendly activities, and then also, some cool comedy shows and stuff like that. But I actually just got off the phone with before this with Brandy Sullivan at Theater 99, and she was talking about the comedy side of this. So Piccolo Fringe is the comedy rendition for Piccolo, and basically she was saying this year they're going back to basics, so they're really highlighting what they do best at Theater 99. And one of those things that I think sounds amazing and I have not seen but sounds great is the complete history of Charleston for morons, which is now a bus and walking tour that you can go on around the
I've
city.
heard of that. Yeah.
Yes, and so that is a fun one for locals and out-of-towners alike. There's also going to be a lot of literary events, Piccolo poetry or sundown poetry at the Gibbs Museum Garden is happening this year. I think there's 8 poetry readings that are going to take place. And then there's also Piccolo fiction at Blue Bicycle Books downtown, which I actually used to go to writing camp at Blue Bicycle Books with Jonathan Sanchez, who runs that place. So he's great. And that'll be a good event. And then there's a lot of other happenings. There's some really good theater performances, musical performances happening around town, a ton of stuff. And also there are pop-ups that are going to be happening around town in different neighborhoods. And I just kind of got some tips on what's going down. So I'll be writing a story on that for you guys where you can check out the different pop-ups that will be happening. They're like outdoor pop-ups in different neighborhoods, like Hampton Park is doing one. I think there's like movies, like outdoor movies, and then there's also outdoor music performances and a dance performance. So those will all be good.
I love that, going into the neighborhoods, that because Charleston is much bigger and wider, and I love that Piccolo goes out into those neighborhoods. And I think my understanding is that that's one of the reasons that they have those pop-ups is that they can pepper them around, and they're really meant to go to communities all over Charleston. And they're free, I think, usually, right?
Yeah, all the pop-ups are free. All the outdoor pop-ups are.
No, and did we talk about the distinction between Spoleto and Piccolo?
I guess, yeah, we should maybe go into that a little bit more. You want to talk on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Spoleto is a nonprofit organization. It was brought to Charleston in the 1970s. It was very much supported by the city and the community, with the idea of using the arts to revitalize Charleston, and it very much worked. And and still, arts is a huge factor in the economic vitality of Charleston. Piccolo came along a couple of years later, and it was really intended to embrace the community, and people travel as well to participate in Piccolo. Most of the events are free, or they're for a nominal fee. I think pretty much anybody can participate. You have to go through the paces of getting into the system, and I don't know if it's an application. I don't know if you might know, you worked there.
Yeah, I think you can RSVP for tickets online. I know a lot of the like theater and music performances that are inside are ticketed. So, but it's like between $10 and $30. So it's definitely more accessible than some of the Spoleto performances.
Okay.
And then there's that free, I didn't mention the free outdoor art exhibit at Marion Square that happens every year.
Yeah.
That's another.
Well, I've already heard everybody so excited about Sunset Serenade because
Oh yeah.
they haven't been able to do that in a while. And so, I mean, and that's been going on for a long time. And if you haven't done it, it's super fun. Everyone drags their, chairs to the back of the custom house, and Charleston Symphony does this beautiful, beautiful thing right at the beginning of Spoleto.
Yeah, that's a good send off.
Yes, and I should say also that there'll be the opening ceremonies this year again, which are 12 noon at City Hall. With the new team in place, and sometimes they have performance that they're not going to this year, is my understanding, but that's always wonderful. And it also includes the beautiful St. Michael's bells, which toll, and so it really sets the tone. I've seen some other things around town, and I've written about it recently, about the spirit of Spoleto, and I can start seeing there's some storefronts right now in Charleston that are very inspired. The poster has just been unveiled, and often King Street stores or stores anywhere can get a poster from Spoleto and decorate their storefronts around it. And that can be a really inspiring thing. Go check out Buxton Books. They've gone off the chain with that. And we did an article this week about that, with these beautiful replicas, paper replicas of the Gilliard and the Dock Street and Satilli, with these tableaux of the productions in front of the buildings. So cool. And they're just they're so charmed. And and the poster is this. Christopher Myers is a fine artist and a children's book illustrator and author who's won Caldecott's, and he's really about telling that story. The poster is vibrant and joyful, but really does talk about this new narrative moving forward. He's also the production designer for Omar, so there's a lot of great cohesion going on, and a lot of candor. And it's a tricky, challenging time in our country and in our world, but I'm getting the sense that Spoleto's planning to do this, and Piccolo too, with a lot of joy and a lot of celebration of how the arts are so essential in having those conversations.
Absolutely.
Anything else, Kalyn, that you think that is worth pointing out that's different about this year's festival, or that you're particularly excited about?
You met the Sunset Serenade. That was a big thing. That's featured on the Piccolo poster this year, a photograph by Jack Alterman that was taken of the Sunset Serenade. So that is a big return for them at the U.S. Custom House. I also interviewed a marching band that comes here every year for Piccolo. They're called the Seed and Feed Marching Abominable. They're from Atlanta. And I talked to them. They just sound super fun, and I've seen them before.
I've seen them too. They are a riot. I mean, they are, and they're riotous. I mean, they get all crazy dressed up, and
they have wild costumes, and they're doing a pajama march. So they're doing like a nighttime march at the Customs House this weekend, actually on Saturday night. You guys want to check that out at 10:30 p.m. You can dress up in your pajamas. They'll be dressed up in their pajamas and have lights and be marching down by the Customs House. So that's kind of a fun, quirky one. Yeah, definitely.
That's wonderful. And that is, it's always, even, when I was a little kid and all through my life, when Spoleto comes to town, you can just feel that electricity in the air. Everybody is so excited. One of my favorite things now is that often I go to these shows solo, because I just have to zip from here to there and end up sitting next to somebody or at a cabaret table, and I talk with some of the people that are coming in from other places. They're always introduce themselves and tell me how long they've been coming to the festival. I find it interesting that they go to both. They see what's on the main festival docket because that comes out first, and then they fill in with their favorite Piccolo series and try new things. And so these are people from who are coming from other places and are traveling specifically to see the festival. And of course, locals do that as well.
Right.
So there's just, there's a lot of verve going on during that, and a lot of lively exchange around these festivals. And even though Charleston is, exponentially bigger than it was back then, it really, to me, feels like a community when everybody is reacting to these world-class artists.
There's a lot of energy this time of year, absolutely, that you can just feel in the city.
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't know if anyone, I see one question here that I can't fully answer, which is about some of the contractual obligations of what happened in the past couple of years because of COVID. I will say that I don't know, comprehensively. I do know that some of the shows have moved forward and are represented in this festival. So I think that they, and they did that last year too. Things that were supposed to be in the 2020 were in the 21. But this question had to do with how those obligations are being met and handled. And I believe one thing I've learned about Spoleto is that it's around the world, it is considered an artists' festival. It has a very good reputation around the world of really taking care of its artists. And I was so delighted when I lived in Dublin for a year, and I was at a dinner party, and this Irish actor came beaming over to me and said, "Oh, I get to go to Spoleto." He was in the Gate, and the Gate regularly comes, and he'd been cast in a production that was going to Spoleto. And the buzz around Dublin, every actor or artist wanted to get into a production that was going to Spoleto because it was renowned for how well it treated its artists. And I was always so proud of that. And I think that, and I've heard that when Nigel retired, that came up regularly with all the artists that I spoke with about that. So while I can't speak with true authority, I can say that I know that there's always an intention to respect the artists and to provide the artists with as good an opportunity, an optimal space to make the finest art that they can make, and that's something we should all kind of be really, really proud of. The other thing I wanted to say, we're kind of nearing our closing time here, was that if you like following the arts, make sure and read our newsletters that we have. We have a couple of them that are art specific. I do the hot sheet, which is what I will do right after this. Go write that quickly. It drops Thursday mornings. And Kalyn has Charleston Scene, and between the two of them, the hot sheet is intentionally a 7-day out thing. So from Thursday to Wednesday. So I try to find those things that you might not find elsewhere in terms of pop-up exhibitions, and I'd throw in a little, fun food in there. And Charleston Scene, I think, is pretty similar. Do you have anything to add about Charleston Scene?
Yeah, the Charleston Scene newsletter comes out Thursday evenings, and it's usually just a recap of some of the highlights of articles that we've written that week, usually about events that are going on, features you might want to read that you might have missed about local artists, that kind of thing. It's usually just kind of a recap of the stories we've written. So while Maura focuses more on these are things outside of what we've written that you might want to know about, mine's well, here's what we've written too, and make sure you you read that this week and know what's going on.
That's awesome. So if you want to sign up for those, go to postandcourier.com/newsletter sign up. It's on the homepage too. Oh, the Piccolo booklets. We're getting do you have any intel on the Piccolo booklets?
I do not have any intel on that, to be honest. So I'm not totally sure about that one. I know things kind of this year, even with Spoleto, a little bit have been more last minute. I think it's just the way of the world right now.
Right. And I do think in general with all arts organizations, there is an intention of shifting online. So I'm not really sure where the status is, but everything is available online. It's Spoleto is SpoletoUSA.org, and Piccolo, I don't know.
PiccoloSpoleto.com.
I think it's PiccoloSpoleto.com.
Mm-hmm.
So I did want to thank all our subscribers for joining today. And if you're not subscribed yet, you can support our work by visiting postandcourier.com/subscribe. And, we would love to have you join this arts charged conversation. And thank you so much, and enjoy the festivals.